Let's do this kind of a problem. Now, I know that you can do this on your calculators, but you need to be able to do this by hand as well. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about because you still have several math classes ahead of you. The order of operations says that we will do parentheses first, then exponents, then multiplications and divisions, and then additions and subtractions. All of them from left to right. Now, in these problems, obviously there's no parentheses or exponents or multiplications or divisions, only additions and subtractions. So we do them left to right. And I'm going to do it the slow way, but it'll be very easy for you to follow what I'm doing. So from left to right, I'll first do that. 8 minus 9 is -1. And then the rest of this, the rest of the expression just carries down. Now from left to right, I'll do that. -1 minus 1 is -2. And the rest of the expression carries down. Now I'll do -2 plus 12, which is 10. And then the only other part remaining carries down, and then 10 minus 1 is 9. So make sure that you do it left to right. Even though the order of operations says, or the A, well, I didn't say that very well. Even though the order of operations has the A coming before the S, that doesn't mean that you do additions before subtractions. You do them simultaneously from left to right. Now let's do this. Elsa is riding in a bike race that goes through a valley and a nearby mountain range. The table gives the altitude in feet above sea level for the 5 checkpoints in the race. Use the table to answer the questions. How much higher is checkpoint 3 than checkpoint 2? Measured in feet. So to determine that, I would take the altitude of checkpoint 3 and subtract from that the altitude of checkpoint 2. Now notice that when I do that, I get this minus a minus portion of the expression. A common mistake people will do is to just say that right there and leave out the negative, which is part of the altitude. So you have to do that. You have to include that negative sign. Now, when we have minus a minus, they both become plus because they're undoing each other essentially. And so 1595 plus 127 is going to be 1,722. And because it's a word problem, I need to include the units, and it is feet. So checkpoint 3 is 1,722 feet in elevation higher than checkpoint 2. And if you think about it, that makes sense. Now, what about part B? The top of a hill rises 571 feet above checkpoint 1. What is the altitude of the top of the hill? So I suppose we could draw a picture if we felt like it. It's totally unnecessary, but some people will appreciate it. If checkpoint 1 is down here at the bottom of the hill, and of course, this is the hill, then it says that whatever the altitude of checkpoint 1 is, that this height right here is going to be 571 feet higher than checkpoint 1. So the altitude of the hill would be the altitude of checkpoint 1 increased by 571 feet. Now, when we have a negative number added to a positive, essentially, that's subtraction. I could rewrite this as 571 minus 193. When I evaluate that, I get 378. Again, this is a word problem, so I need to include the units. The altitude of the hill is 378 feet above sea level. Now let's do another minus a minus problem, but this time involving fractions. Because it is minus minus, I can immediately say blam blam, like a double barrel shotgun. Those guys are both addition. So I have negative 2/5 plus 1/9. Now in order to, so now I just need to add the fractions. In order to do that, I need to have common denominators. So what would be the least common denominator? The smallest thing that they both divide into is, that's a multiplication sign, is 45. Therefore, I need to multiply both denominators by whatever is required so that they both become 45. I will multiply the first one by 9/9 and second by 5/5. And that should do the trick. So I'll get negative 18/45 plus 5/45. And negative 18 plus 5 is minus 13. And that's it. So the main new trick, technically, was to recognize that when you have minus and minus, you can make them both plus. Now let's do the same thing again, except this time there's more than one fraction. Well, that's fine. Doesn't mean it's any harder. It just means we're going to do more of the same. So first we need to find the least common denominator. Now, unlike that last problem where the denominators had nothing in common, no factors in common, this time that is not the case. So if I factor each denominator, then I get this. The 3 is prime, so it doesn't factor. Same thing with 5. But the 6 is 2 times 3. So to determine the least common denominator, I'll just go from left to right. I need that first denominator and all of its factors. So I need a 3 in the LCD. In the second fraction, I find that I need a 5. And from the third fraction, I find that I need a factor of 2, and I need a factor of 3, but I already have the factor of 3 there, so I won't introduce it again. And that gives me an LCD of 30. So I'm ready to start getting least common denominators. So I'm going to write 2/3 and leave a space, minus 3/5 and leave a space, minus 5/6. So now I will multiply by whatever I need to each fraction so that each denominator becomes the least common denominator of 30. What do I need to multiply the first denominator by to get 30? Well, it already has the 3, so I just need to multiply by the 5 and the 2, or by 10. So I multiplied the top and bottom of the fraction by 10. By the same token, I'll multiply the second fraction by the 3 and the 2, or by 6. And I'll multiply the third one by 5 over 5. So this becomes 20 thirtieths minus 18 thirtieths minus 25 thirtieths. And since I have two subtractions, I'll do them from left to right. 20 thirtieths minus 18 thirtieths is 2 thirtieths. And then 2 thirtieths minus 25 thirtieths is negative 23 thirtieths. And the problem is done.